Municipal. He's a professor of political sociology and also the director of Middle Eastern Studies at the Middle Eastern Studies Center, in Ankara. He joins us now from the Turkish capital. Ahmed, just picking up there on what Osama and I were discussing, obviously a huge part of the country did vote for the opposition in the runoff. Does Erdogan have a strategy to win them over?
Yes, he already won the hearts and minds despite the difficulties of earthquake, corona, war on Ukraine, and all these, and economy. But he proved that he convinced people, Turkish people, that he is the solution. And even very obvious in the earthquake areas, of course, there are many sufferings, but he presented himself as the solution rather than, whose fault was it, more fault on which side and stuff. At the end, he maintains the credibility and the mission to accomplish this. And this is a new Turkey. He has a vision. I think he'll come up with a young and dynamic mix of with the also experience of 20 years. And this is gonna be a new Turkey. And he has now the credit. People voted for him. Of course, there are challenges to unite and to become everybody's president, but this is, of course, before the election, we see a polarization in Turkish society, but it's not only his fault. Opposition also preferred polarization, try to gather or mobilize everybody against Erdogan, and they failed. And of course, this is the duty of everybody, not only Erdogan's. And today, I mean, many world leaders are attending the inauguration ceremony, and opposition leader is missing from this opposition. I mean, from this inauguration, which is not a good sign for the opposition, because they should be conceding the outcome of this election. And but it doesn't matter as much now. I mean, people were waiting for this time. I mean, Turkey was in the election mode for a long time, for almost like a year. Many things got frozen in the meantime, and now it's gonna accelerate the economy, foreign policy, and many files waiting inside and outside. So I think
Ahmed, you mentioned.
Yes.
Sorry, Ahmed, you mentioned people suffering earlier, and I know that President Erdogan has already said that inflation, which I believe hit 85% last year, is his priority. Do you foresee big changes in economic policy, especially also given the cost of living crisis that the country is facing?
Yeah, he managed to. I mean, he has to make a choice to depend on financial playing with the lira and making it strong, or to keep the economic wheel running. So he chose to run the wheel, to maintain it running, and it worked to a certain degree. Of course, there is inflation, there is some hardships, and he tried to compensate it with rising or raising salaries and other fees or other revenues. And now we have the still working economy. Yesterday only they announced the May exports were like record numbers, very, very high, very promising also for the economy. Tourism is strong. I mean, industry and agriculture is also strong. And I think he has a chance to continue on this line, but he has to assure also the global economy, maybe bring some of the experienced people from the past governments, past cabinets, like Mehmet Şimşek is talked about a lot. And I think he has the team. I mean, he has many people that he can use, and especially the foreign investors. They were waiting for this election. Even domestic investors also, they were waiting for this election to see who is going to run the country, what type of economy, and all these questions. Now the picture is clear, and they can invest. And now the economy is focused not on the financial maybe maneuvering, but on production. And this is, I think, gonna succeed in the end, because it's a solid economy, not with the numbers and stuff. This is a producing economy.
Okay, so Ahmed, you're convinced that he can right the ship. Let me ask you about another issue that was obviously a big issue for many voters in the election. There are still 3.7 million Syrian refugees, I believe, currently in Turkey. Do we yet have a sense of how that might be addressed under Erdogan's new government?
Yes. There is the kind of maybe national mood, national, tendency or nationalist tendency and some of them are related to the national pride and having Bayraktar or national automobile and other productions, and some of it also with the refugees that or are not only Syrians, and Turkey is kind of a pathway for other refugees to pass to Europe. And Afghanis, Pakistanis, even Africans come and try to use Turkey to pass to Europe, to Greece, to Italy, and other countries. And of course, we will have this problem. But I mean, opposition, of course, they couldn't challenge Erdogan on big issues. And now they found, especially during the election, they found the issue of refugees as a kind of fear mongering against foreigners or against refugees, etc. But I don't see refugees is a big problem. Turkish economy can absorb them, and they are already, almost like 10 years now. They are part of the economy. They are not. Most of them are not living in camps like as it is in Lebanon or in Jordan. And I think it's not a major problem, but it is over. It is exaggerated a little bit. It is also natural. I see, politicians try to use everything, but I think after the elections, this issue will calm down, will not be as a major problem. And Erdogan also promised after the victory and during the victory speech that he will try to, make Syria, especially northern Syria, safer and also economically attractive for them, in order for them to return to their homes. And this process will be going forward. Yes.
So, Ahmet, you talk about elections as if they're over, and obviously the presidential election is over, but there are municipal elections, as Osama and I were just discussing, in just 10 months. And back in 2019, Erdogan's AK Party lost major cities, Istanbul, Ankara. In trying to recapture those will be a bit of a political test. How do you rate his chances at this stage?
I think he has a chance, and people were talking about, Erdogan maybe losing the parliament and maybe winning the presidency, and he now, with his maneuvers, also with the failure of the opposition, he managed to win also the parliament, which is also a good sign for the stability and the consistency between the parliament and the government and the execution. And this way, the municipal, of course, big cities are a big challenge because they are the most hit by the economic hardships, like rent prices go up, house prices, also inflation also hit hard the working class with minimum wages and stuff. And of course, it's a challenge, but he's close to do anything. And the coalition also built kind of a coalition of impossible. Build 10, almost like 10 different parties and fractions and also movements. They try to bring everybody together. This was almost like impossible, especially this is going to be very hard after the failure in this election. The momentum, I think, to unite all against Erdogan is going to be more difficult for them. And there are now controversies within the, opposition parties. Some blame the Kılıçdaroğlu, some blame the small minor parties that he gave a lot of seats in the parliament. So there is kind of a debate going on and maybe a controversy going on in the opposition camp. We'll see if they can manage to carry this momentum, which doesn't have. Erdogan has the momentum right now, and the coalition building against him is going to be more difficult next time in 9 months. Yes.
A very interesting time in Turkish politics indeed. Ahmet Ünsal there, a professor of political sociology and also director of the Middle Eastern Studies Center in Ankara. Thank you for joining us on Al Jazeera, sir, and for sharing your thoughts with us.
Thank you.